This is how it started. One of my old contacts from the homelessness sector picked up the phone and said, Jean, there's this thing happening now that I think you should be aware of, and I don't think it's legal. What happened in 2015 is that they piloted Operation Ados. It's basically a pilot that says being homeless is a sufficient condition to remove you. It actually said that if you are homeless, you have an unfair advantage on other people. Now, if you want to argue that by coming to London in order to purposefully sleep on the streets, in order to gain an advantage and reside in the UK, I think it's quite far-fetched. It was not initiated by the Home Office. It was initiated by the Mayor's office, which at the time was Boris Johnson. It was initiated by local authorities, in particular Westminster Council. And this kind of policy is very much about reducing homelessness by any means necessary. In this case, deportation. We've got documents from the Mayor's office that says, well, what we should do with the people is offer them reconnection, and then if they don't take up reconnection, then we remove them. So basically, people had the choice of either agreeing to return or being forced to return. There were never any options. I mean, it's a bit of a mix between Kafka and also this thing of authoritarianism and darkness that comes from Ionesco. My feeling was that basically no one really cared. And they're not the kind of people that we're going to look out for. They're homeless people. A lot of Eastern European communities. A lot of these operations targeted specific communities that come from poorer countries, that come here often to work. We had a young person who was sleeping in a van because he was between accommodation. And he was not rough sleeping, and he had a job. And he lost his job. And he was, picked up out of a van and detained for 7 months. In some cases, people were not detained, but they had their documents taken away and they were asked to report to the Home Office on a weekly basis, potentially to then be removed anyway. And because of the right to rent policy, which is part of the hostel environment, how do you get to rent a place if you don't have ID? When you are a foreigner, if you don't have the right accent, if you don't have the right color skin, often you are asked for ID. Foucault, when he describes the prisons, he always says it's not about rehabilitating people, but it's about classifying people. And so through this, you have a kind of fear machine. Now, is the government smart enough to think along those lines? I don't know, honestly, but it definitely reduces the numbers, which was its original aim. And you have to remember that rough sleeping is weirdly very political because it's very visible. It's the visible tip of the whole housing crisis iceberg. And so the other thing that happened is that people stopped sleeping visibly. Yeah, some people were removed, but also people went into hiding. And we've got soup kitchens and volunteers groups with very good contacts, and they say that people don't want to tell us anymore where they're sleeping because they're just scared. I mean, a breakdown of trust between homelessness charities and people is huge. It was a fantastic machine of deportation because the brutes on the ground were your outreach homelessness charities who know where everyone is and would just take officers there. The Home Office, A, don't have the resources, B, don't have the knowledge, C, don't have the time to go out find homeless people. The homelessness charities, they know where people are, they know where they are from. The bringing of these two together is fascism. One of the main thing about hostile environment, obviously apart from the draconian policy, is about how you use people from outside government to make it happen. Now, this is why I use the word fascism, because you go into civil society. Now, when you start forcing people to do these kind of policing and enforcement jobs, it's dark. It's really dark.